Hello, today we are starting Unit 4B with first applying and solving percent equations. So this is very similar to Unit 4A. Every question we have now just has to deal with a percent. So we're still setting up proportions. So here is our, I would say, formula or equation that we're really going to follow. When we set up our two ratios, one is always going to be in terms of the percent. What percent do we have out of 100%? Oops, that would be percent there. And then on the other side, we have whatever we're looking for in terms of our part out of the whole thing. So in this first example, it says a ticket to Valley Fair usually costs $20. So it costs a total of $20 to enter Valley Fair. But students on a school field trip receive a 20% discount. How much would a single ticket cost? So we're going to set up our proportion. I'm going to draw this out. So starting with the first sentence, a ticket usually costs $20. So the whole thing, it usually costs $20. But you get a 20% discount. So that 20% is our discount. We're getting 20% out of 100% off. So we need to figure out how much is that going to be. What is 20% of the $20? So we can cross multiply. X times 100 is 100x. 20 times 20, you can use your calculator. It's going to give us 400. And then if we solve this, the opposite of multiplying by 100 is dividing by 100. 100 over 100 is just 1x, or just x. And 100 goes into 400 4 times. So on the left side, we were talking about money. So what is 20%? Well, it's really $4 off. Okay? That discount we get, that 20% off, is really $4 off. So if it cost us $20 to begin with, and we get $4 off, we're really subtracting $4 to give us a total of 20 minus 4 is $16. Now, there is another way you could do this. However, we're just going to stick to this part over whole and figure out what percent off do we need and subtract it from your total. Alright, slide 2 says Josie is selling tins of popcorn as a part of a fundraiser for a class trip for $14. So a tin of popcorn costs $14. Josie gets 35% of the money from each tin to put towards the cost of the trip. How much money does Josie get from each tin? So think about it. It says two little hints here. Is the number going to be more or less than $14 or more or less than $7? So if it costs $14 for one tin of popcorn and she's making 35% of that to go towards her trip, well, it's not 50%. 50% would be half. So it's got to be less than the whole thing, less than 14. $7 would be half of our tin. It's even less than half because we're only getting 35% of what people are spending. So let's set up our proportion. We know we are getting 35% out of the whole thing, out of 100%. And what is the whole thing? Well, the whole thing, it costs $14 per tin. We want to know what is the 35% that we're getting to put towards our trip. So we can cross multiply. We don't include the percent symbol when we cross multiply. So 100 times x is 100x. 35 times 14, I'm going to plug that in my calculator. Gives me 490. And then last, the opposite of multiplying, because those are touching, is divide. So we're dividing by 100. 100 over 100 is just 1. So we have 1x, or just x. And then 490 divided by 100, it's really just moving the decimal 2 spots to the left, would be 4.9. 4.9 what? On this side we were talking about money, so it's $4, and if we have 2 decimals, 90 cents. So Josie gets $4.90 for each tin to go towards her trip. All right, let's look at number 3. It says you have been saving up money to buy a ticket for a concert that costs $35. You have saved $21. What percent have you saved? So if we set up our proportion, the total ticket costs $35, so that's the whole thing. So that goes on the bottom, $35 for the whole ticket. The part that we have already saved is $21. We want to know what percent have we saved. So we don't know what percent we have, but we know it's out of the whole thing, out of 100% total. So choose a letter to cross multiply. 35 times x is 35x. 100 times 21, or 21 times 100. You're really just adding your two zeros. And then solve the rest. The opposite of multiplying is divide. So divide by 35. So 2100 or 2100 divided by 35. When I plug that in my calculator, it gives me a nice 60. So x was on the percent side. So what percent have we saved? We've saved 60% of the money we need for the concert. All right, next one, it says on a math test, you received, it should say 75%. You got 18 questions correct. How many questions were on the test? So how many total questions were on the test? So starting with what we know, we received 75%. Out of, we know 100% total would have been the highest score we could get. And we know we got 18 questions correct. So we got 18, that's the part that we got correct. The total, we don't know. That's what we're trying to figure out. What was the total number of questions? So let's cross multiply. 75 times x is 75x. Remember, we don't include the percent when we cross multiply. 18 times 100 is 1,800. And then last, you should be good at solving one-step equations. The opposite of multiply is divide. And we get x equal to, I'm going to plug this in my calculator, 1,800 divided by 75 gives me 24. So there were 24 questions on the test. All right, this last question I would like for you to solve on your own. Go ahead and write your percent that you are trying to figure out of 100% total, and then your part out of your total. Notice we have the total on the bottom for both. I'll give you a second to solve that, and then I will solve it. All right, it says a taco company puts 24 taco shells in every box. Recently, the company expanded the box, made the box bigger, and put 25% more shells in each box. How many more shells are in the box? So we know there are 24 total in the box. So we want to figure out what is 25% more. What is 25% of the 24? So we're going to cross multiply. 100 times x is 100x. 24 times 25 gives me a nice 600. And then the opposite of multiplying by 100 is dividing by 100. And 600 divided by 100 is 6. So 25% is 6 shells. So they're putting in 6 more shells in each box because they made the boxes bigger. 25% bigger, they can put in 6 more shells. All right, here is your homework. Go ahead and set up a proportion for each of these and cross multiply to solve. There are a couple on the back, number 7 and number 8. It says 63 is what percent of 75. So it says of what percent. We don't know what percent. That's what you're trying to figure out of 100%. So you would just need to put your two numbers, the part and the total, to cross multiply. Same thing with this last one, except we're still finding the percent out of 100%, except for it says 84 is what percent of 70. So they're telling us 70 is the total, 84 is the part. So we're going to